This program contains graphic violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Dirty Harry, a legendary film franchise that solidifies Clint Eastwood as Hollywood's top tough guy.
Clint Eastwood's portrayal of Harry Callahan was the quintessential cop who rides in and is just grizzled and cool and handles business.
But while Harry Callahan inspires most audiences to be heroes, the vicious criminals in Dirty Harry's Magnum Force influences a group of friends to murder in cold blood.
It's a pretty chilling story, what unfolded. Whatever their plan was, everything went very wrong.
Seeing that type of criminal violence on screen, I'm sure triggered something in Pierre's mind that caused him to do that.
I think that this guy had no limits whatsoever.
It's a horrific copycat crime that shocks the nation.
None of the 5 victims drank the drain cleaner voluntarily. It was forced into them. The scenes in that movie depicted things that wouldn't have occurred if they hadn't have seen that.
In 1971, Clint Eastwood stars as San Francisco police inspector Harry Callahan in the hit action thriller Dirty Harry.
Harry Callahan is just the coolest cop ever. He's smooth. It was a youngish Clint Eastwood, and he was just cool. Probably most famous for the line, "Do you feel lucky, punk?"
The movie becomes an instant classic in Hollywood and even spawns a sequel.
Magnum Force was the sequel to Dirty Harry, came out in 1973. Wildly successful, actually made more money than Dirty Harry, and it was the 6th highest grossing movie of that year.
In Magnum Force, a brutal serial killer stalks the streets Callahan has vowed to protect.
This character came at a time in American history where people were looking for a hero. There were the Manson murders. There was the Zodiac serial killer.
And in Ogden, Utah, there is an unforgettable copycat serial killer case known as the Hi-Fi Murders.
When the Hi-Fi murders occurred, the crime was so horrific and so bad, and it caused quite an uprising in the community.
It was a true copycat killer, just like the movie. He thought it would be clean and quick.
The problem is the Drano doesn't work the way it does in the movies.
Hill Air Force Base, Ogden, Utah, 1973.
Hill Air Force Base has been one of the leaders of industry in Utah from way, way back when, before World War II. We have thousands and thousands of employees in northern Utah that work at Hill Air Force Base.
It's an institution that is home to some of the finest military personnel in the country. Among these soldiers is a man named Dale Pierre.
Dale Pierre was an airman in the Air Force. He was 20 at the time. He had come from Trinidad and Tobago, ended up as a mechanic at the Hill Air Force Base.
Born into a life with little privilege, Dale has been working since he was 16 years of age.
Texaco had a big refinery down there on Trinidad, and so he was working in this program down there. I think his mother moved to New York. He resented that, and he just joined the Air Force not too long after that.
While serving in the Air Force, Dale dreams of a better life.
Pierre wanted to enrich himself. He admitted that, yes, I grew up in Trinidad and I came here and I, was underprivileged.
So Dale comes up with a solution.
Dale Pierre was under an investigation for auto theft in the latter part of 1973. He would borrow these cars off of car lots, would take the keys to a locksmith on base, have duplicate keys made up, take the car back to a car dealership, and then several days later go back at night and steal the car with the keys he had made up.
Dale's car theft operation extends well beyond the borders of Utah.
He and some of the other people that he worked with at the base were taking these cars back when they were on leave to different places throughout the United States and dumping them off.
Dale's criminal enterprise is well known around the base.
Everybody I talked to was intimidated by him. They were scared of him.
How you doing? No, you did it. Hey, go!
They were threatened by him. His mere attitude and demeanor scared people.
Except for a man on base named Sergeant Edward Jefferson.
Jefferson and he had had a heated argument. There had been some keys that were stolen from Sergeant Jefferson, keys to a newer model Pontiac Grand Prix.
You think I'm stupid or something, man? I know all those gimmicks you got going around, man. I'm not stupid.
Jefferson suspected that he had taken the keys and probably had duplicate sets of keys made up, which was his MO on the previous car thefts.
Sergeant Jefferson decides to take a stand.
Jefferson threatened to expose Pierre over the theft of the cars.
Get the hell up. Get up!
But he will never get his chance.
Sergeant Edward Jefferson was killed in his home within Hill Air Force Base, and it was a really violent murder.
Although the murder was over 40 years ago, Detective Don Moore can't forget Sergeant Jefferson's case.
He was found in his apartment, laying on the couch, and he had been brutally attacked. We found out later from the examination, from the autopsy and so forth, he had been stabbed in the face with a knife similar to a military bayonet.
The detective learns that Sergeant Jefferson was well liked by his peers and seemingly had no enemies, except for one man.
In their investigation, one name continued to come up again and again and again. And that was Dale Pierre.
Police bring Dale in for questioning.
His demeanor and his stare, his look, somewhat set me aside just a little bit.
Now, when Pierre was investigated by detectives, he denied that they had ever had any argument together, and he had an alibi. But it couldn't be verified.
Although Detective Moore thinks Dale Pierre is their killer, police don't have enough to make an arrest.
We needed the physical evidence, we needed the knife, which we never found.
If Dale Pierre had in fact murdered Sergeant Jefferson, as the police detectives felt he had, what's to stop him from killing more? What's to stop him from murdering again?
With Sergeant Jefferson dead, Dale Pierre remains a free man. But soon, a copycat crime will cause Dale Pierre and Detective Moore to collide once again.
Let me get 3 tickets to Magnum Force.
Dale Pierre and his friends William Andrews and Keith Roberts decide to attend a movie everyone has been talking about.
The movie Magnum Force with Clint Eastwood came out in December of 1973.
While the movie is ultimately a tale about good triumphing over evil, Dale Pierre feels more of a connection to the film's villains.
In Magnum Force, the bad guys actually turn out to be police officers who are supposed to protect and serve. And it's ironic, and that kind of parallels to what we saw with Dale Pierre and his associates, because they worked for the United States Air Force, and we look at our servicemen as heroes.
Dale Pierre and his friends binge-watch the movie over and over again.
Dale Pierre and his friends went to see Magnum Force and loved it so much that they decided to buy another ticket to go back and see it. And then they bought another ticket after that. We're talking over 6 hours of Magnum Force.
Throughout the repeated viewings, one scene in particular speaks to Dale the most.
One of the most suspenseful scenes in the movie is a convenience store robbery. Armed henchmen come into the store where Dirty Harry is already in place and his partner is behind the counter.
In the film, Dirty Harry manages to stop the henchmen.
And the robbery takes place, and in typical fashion, he lays waste to almost everyone in the store and saves the day.
But Dale thinks he's above the law since police are never able to apprehend him for stealing cars.
Seeing that type of criminal violence on screen, I'm sure triggered something in Pierre's mind.
He believes that no one can stop him, and the movie Magnum Force gives Dale an idea.
Dale Pierre watched Magnum Force, and he watches this convenience store robbery, and he's like, I can do that. He looked at the criminals who robbed a convenience store, and that was where he felt inspired.
And if anyone gets in his way, he'll use a different scene from the movie to dispose of them.
There's a scene where a pimp finds out that his prostitute has been withholding money, so he shoves a can of drain cleaner down her throat. The prostitute struggles for a moment and then kind of quietly just fades to death.
The thought occurred to him, hey, why don't we commit the crime? And if we need to murder, we'll do it with Drano, just like they did it in the film.
In my opinion, that film was one of the leading factors of how this crime went down.
Legendary actor Clint Eastwood receives top billing for the film Dirty Harry and its sequel, Magnum Force.
Clint Eastwood plays Harry Callahan, a cop who uses his wit and his .44 Magnum to take down San Francisco's worst killers.
In Magnum Force, Eastwood's character takes the law into his own hands when a group of robbers descend on a convenience store.
Harry Callahan knows everything. He's always one step ahead of the criminals. And he's waiting in this convenience store for everything to go down so that he can step in with his Magnum and save the day.
In Ogden, Utah, Air Force Airman Dale Pierre has seen Magnum Force 3 times in one day. Of all of the scenes in the film, the convenience store robbery leaves the biggest impression.
Most people are drawn to Harry Callahan and his character, and they're inspired by justice. Dale saw the movie, and he looked at the criminals who robbed a convenience store, and that was where he felt inspired.
Dale thinks that a nearby electronics store is the perfect target for his copycat crime, so he recruits his friend William Andrews for the heist.
Dale was pretty confident that he could convince William to do anything. So when the time came to formulate the plan, he was pretty certain that he could convince him to do it.
Hey, I was thinking about how we can make some extra money on the side.
Oh, yeah?
William Andrews is one of Dale Pierre's few friends.
People describe William as a battered lamb in need of guidance, and they describe Dale as a wolf in sheep's clothing.
I think Andrew is probably more of a follower than anything. And whatever Pierre wanted him to do, he did.
Unlike in the movie, Dale chooses an electronics shop over a convenience store because he thinks the payoff will be greater.
He wanted to rob this store. He wanted to have the nice stereo equipment. He wanted to sell it, fence it, make money off of it. He was not concerned about what would happen along the way.
I really think we should do this.
I'm all for it, man. Let's do it. Let's definitely do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Right.
In the event that anyone should get in their way, Dale has a plan straight from the movie Magnum Force.
In the movie, a prostitute is killed by her pimp for withholding money by being forced to drink draining cleaner. Pierre and Andrews loved this scene in the movie, and they loved the idea of somehow working that into their plan for the hi-fi store.
I think that they thought that would be a quiet way to dispense with people.
Dale also packs 2 guns for the heist. The men plan to rob the store right at closing time.
They knew that they were going to need at least one other person to help out, and they need a getaway driver.
That's when Keith Roberts becomes part of the plan.
When they approach Keith, he says yes, and the reason is because he's down for the idea of some quick money.
Dale has all of his accomplices in place.
I think even Andrews and Roberts both were terrified of what this guy could do.
Dale Pierre knows they'll need a place to hide the stolen
The
equipment.
key to the unit, the rental agreement.
They didn't want to be transporting stolen property great distances or even try to take it on the base. I think that would have aroused a lot of suspicion.
1,000 square feet of storage space.
The storage shed was a few short blocks from the scene of the crime.
I think this is perfect.
The following day, Dale, William, and Keith wait for the perfect moment to strike the electronics store.
They went in late in the day. I think the hi-fi shop at that time was closing at 6 p.m. The indication was that they got there shortly before they closed.
They're outside the store, and they're feeling good, like badasses. Little do they know the horrific events that are about to unfold.
Relax! Okay, relax! Don't move, and no one gets hurt.
The 1973 sequel to Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, is a theatrical hit at the box office, once again proving audiences can't get enough of Inspector Harry Callahan.
Harry Callahan, I think that the name Dirty Harry is an ironic twist, because dirty in that he will do anything to get justice served. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, but ultimately his intentions and motives are the best reasons.
Air Force Airman Dale Pierre likes the movie so much, he's determined to recreate one of the film's most intense scenes, an armed robbery for profit.
Dale Pierre, William Andrews, and Keith Roberts went to the hi-fi shop with the intention of stealing as much equipment out of there as they could.
But Dale Pierre's plan will lead to one of the most disturbing copycat crimes in history.
Oh, please. They always come in at the last minute. All right, I'll take care of this one. Oh, hi, guys. So, we're closing soon. We can still help you out with anything really quick.
Relax! Relax! Don't move! Don't move, and no one gets hurt. Is anybody else here?
There's nobody here.
Are you sure? Come on! Don't lie to us, man.
No one is here.
The two clerks in the store at the time were Stan Walker, who was 21, and Michelle Ainsley, who was 19.
It's Michelle's first week on the job.
Put your hands up! I'm gonna look around quick. I'll be right back. All right. Hey, yo, bring it back here.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Okay. Move. Okay, hurry up.
In that short period of time, they had come into the store, taken the 2 clerks downstairs, and were tying them up.
Sit! Stand behind your back. Do as he says. Hurry up! Don't move!
Stanley and Michelle are sitting there tied up, and they're trying to be cooperative. In their minds, yes, their store is being robbed, but they probably were hoping that the robbers would just rob and then leave.
We don't want it to hurt you, okay?
Okay.
That's when everything starts to go wrong.
Stanley, you down here? Yeah. You down here, man? Yeah. Who's that?
Stanley? You in here?
I don't know, man.
You down here?
Stanley's friend, 16-year-old Courtney Nesbitt, has entered the store.
Stan?
He had plans to meet his friend after his shift ended.
Courtney, don't get up! Down! Stand! Hey! Hurry up. Down. Hurry up! Okay. Move.
Courtney Nesbitt is now an unexpected hostage.
Hey, tie him up! Hands behind your back!
Pierre and Andrews were caught by surprise and they didn't know what to do, so they tied him up.
Sit down! Hey, don't move and no one gets hurt. Understood? Understood? Yes. We gotta go. Let's go pack up the car. Let's go. All right. No, man.
With the 3 hostages securely tied up in the basement, the men ransack the store.
Now an hour has already gone by, and Stanley and Michelle were supposed to go back home for dinner. And who shows up but Stanley's father, Orrin Walker, looking for his son. He did pass the car, piled in with products from the hi-fi store. But he didn't think anything of it. He thought they were just transferring product. There wasn't anything to lead him to think that a robbery was actually going on.
Stanley? 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 Hello? Stan, are you down here? Stan?
Hey, what's going on? Get over here! Get down here! What's going on? Stan, what are you doing here?
Now, with 4 hostages on their hands, Dale and William feel like their plan is out of control.
What are we gonna do, man? People just keep showing up. I know.
In the movie, when we watch the convenience store heist, even though Dirty Harry is there, the criminals keep their cool for the most part. In real life, in the hi-fi store, as things just continue to go off script and more people emerge, the 2 of them begin to lose it.
Take this time, man. Here, take this. Get it ready. Go!
But a scene from the movie Magnum Force provides Dale Pierre with a perfect solution to cover up his crime.
In the film, the pimp forces the draining cleaner down the prostitute's throat. 30 seconds, she's out, silent. Clean, easy, quick, and quiet is what they expected. I mean, that's what they saw in the movie. Why would real life be any different?
Everyone's gonna drink this.
They commented that they were going to give them some type of a German sleeping drug mixed with vodka. And if they drank it, they would go to sleep and not remember what had occurred at the crime or something of that nature.
Hello? Courtney?
But Before anyone takes a sip, another unexpected visitor enters the shop.
What was that? Man, I don't know. Go upstairs, check it out.
With every single surprise person that walked into the hi-fi store, Dale Pierre became more agitated, and more frustrated, and more angry. And with that, desiring to kill every one of them.
In the movie, when the victim drinks the drain cleaner, she dies within minutes of it. That did not occur to any of our victims.
No, no!
In the film Magnum Force, Clint Eastwood reprises his role of Harry Callahan, the ruthless cop from the original movie Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry is an American icon because of his good looks and his sharpshooting skills, and he is that quintessential hero who will get justice served regardless of the body count.
In Magnum Force, Clint Eastwood saves San Francisco from a group of serial killers, but not everyone in the action movie survives.
In the movie, a prostitute is killed by her pimp for withholding money by being forced to drink drain cleaner. The scene was actually written not to be used and somehow ended up in the film.
And now, a trio of Air Force airmen turned criminals, led by Dale Pierre, are taking a page from the Dirty Harry franchise.
Pierre and Andrews loved Magnum Force, and they were excited about the idea of involving that act in their crime.
They're in the midst of robbing an electronics store and have taken in 4 hostages: Stanley Walker, Michelle Ainsley, Stanley's father, Orrin, and Stanley's friend, Courtney Nesbitt.
For Pierre, from watching that pimp kill his prostitute with drain cleaner, he has decided that's going to be his method of murder. And that's how he plans to kill these innocent people. And why not? He's seen it in the film, and it's clean, and it's expedient.
But just as Dale readies the drain cleaner,
Hello? Courtney? Hello? Courtney?
Carol Nesbitt enters the store. She's come to find out why her son, Courtney, didn't show up for dinner.
Hello?
What was that? Man, I don't know. Go upstairs, check it out. Bring it down. All right. Move. Get your head behind your back. Behind your back. Hurry up.
They tie her up with the other hostages in the basement of the electronics store.
What must have been going on through their minds? And possibly, they still had hope that they were going to live. After all, these were robbers, and they were there to rob this store. Why would they kill?
Drink it. Drink it!
Dale and William make Carol drink first.
Drink it!
No.
Drink it!
Don't do it!
Drink it.
Please, no!
Then, one by one, they make each hostage drink the drain cleaner.
Take it. Take it! There you go. There you go.
Sam,
drink it.
don't do it.
There you go. Yeah. Drink it.
None of the victims drank the drain cleaner voluntarily. It was forced into them. It was forced into their mouths. I can't imagine how horrible that would be to drink or be forced to drink something like that.
Please don't let me.
No,
I don't want
no.
By the time they get to Orrin Walker, the liquid's horrific and painful side effects are on full display.
gone now. Now it's your turn. Let's drink it. Let's drink it. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. There you go. Yeah. Drink it!
When he saw what was occurring to the other victims, that he would try not to swallow any of it. He actually tipped his head to one side and let it dribble out of the corner of his mouth so it didn't go down his throat.
He pretended to be dying, or knew he had to continue to pretend, to act for his captors, to make them believe that he was dying from whatever he had taken. So he pretended to convulse.
As Dale and William watch the cleaner destroy their hostages, they're stunned to realize it's nothing like the silent, quick death they saw in Magnum Force.
Now, in the movie, the unfortunate woman died within seconds. But in real life, this wasn't happening. This was taking a long time. And they didn't have this kind of time. They needed to kill, and it needed to be quick.
This is too much, bro. I can't do this.
It wasn't working the way they thought it was going to work, and it was at that point where they decided to use firearms.
Dale prepares his weapon.
His confidence comes back, he's in control now, and he's starting to feel like he's badder than any of the bad guys that were in Magnum Force.
The movie had psyched these men up to commit this robbery. But in no way could this movie prepare them for the horrific crime that these men had in their reality.
When it comes to the films in the Dirty Harry franchise, justice always prevails.
Clint Eastwood as Harry Callahan might do things a little unorthodox, but at the end of the day, he always gets the bad guy and keeps the streets safe.
For 5 people in Ogden, Utah, justice can't come soon enough. A burglary turned attempted homicide is the product of a copycat crime gone horribly wrong.
Pierre realizes that things are taking a lot longer than he had planned based upon the movie. So he starts to freak out and he's thinking, I need a plan.
This is too much, bro. I can't do this. You're on your own.
No! William! William!
Knowing that he has to eliminate all witnesses, Dale Pierre makes a decision.
The only other option that they have to get things over with and done is a gun.
Dale shoots each person in the room. But one victim is hanging on to life.
Orrin remained alive, even though Pierre thought he had shot him. Once Pierre realized that Orrin was still alive, Pierre becomes infuriated. He wants this man dead.
Dale strangles Orrin within an inch of his life. But once again, he fails to kill him. But Dale Pierre's madness is about to reach new, unspeakable levels.
Pierre was searching for something that he could use to kill this man.
Pierre then grabs a pencil and sticks it in his ear. And with his foot, kicks it in, stomping right in his eardrum.
Believing he's killed everyone, Dale robs his victims. Then he joins William and Keith outside and leaves the scene.
Guys, we gotta go.
They drive to their storage unit and dump the stuff they've stolen.
The three men return to the military base thinking they got away with the crime.
So then in a dumpster, the three men throw away the purses and wallets which carry the identification of their victims.
But back in the electronics store basement, someone is shockingly still alive.
Orrin Walker, during that entire time, imagine this, that entire time when he knew his son was dead, and drinking the Drano that he spit out, then being shot, then he had this thing kicked into his ear, and he still played dead.
He's determined to stay alive and help police catch the killers.
He was fully aware his son had been shot. He was well aware of everything that had taken place down there, and again, he vowed that he would remember everything that happened in that basement.
Orrin makes it upstairs and manages to dial 911. When police arrive to the store, they can hardly believe that Orrin is still alive.
One of the officers was trying to get a statement from him, and he was talking lucidly to the officer, and the officer looked at him, and that's when the officer almost fainted. He had never seen anything. He couldn't imagine something like that.
Police pull more victims from the basement after the brutal attack.
We had the bodies of two victims, Michelle Ainsley and Stan Walker, on the basement floor.
Michelle and Stan are pronounced dead upon arrival. Carol and Courtney are hanging on for dear life and are transported to the hospital. Carol dies en route. But miraculously, like Orrin, Courtney survives the attack.
I talked to a lot of doctors who were involved in this, 3 or 4 of them, who said there's absolutely no reason for him to be alive after what happened to him.
The investigation is a long way from over, but luckily for the citizens of Ogden, Utah, Detective Moore is on the case.
We started canvasses of the neighborhood and typical investigative procedures on a major homicide case.
The move pays off.
Evidence was recovered at Hill Air Force Base. There were 2 boys, and their way of making money was to go into the dumpsters around the barracks and, I believe, collect bottles.
But the boys find something else. In the dumpster are the wallets and purses of the victims.
So they actually took that to their mother, and hearing about this horrendous crime that occurred in Ogden, was somehow able to piece together the fact that here she had evidence that might be from this crime.
When Detective Moore catches wind of the discovery, he makes a shocking realization.
When it was determined that this evidence was found outside of Barracks 351, the light went on in my head.
6 months prior to the incident at the Hi-Fi store, Detective Moore worked another murder case that he now thinks might be related. In that investigation, a man named Sergeant Edward Jefferson was killed in his sleep at Hill Air Force Base. At the time, the only suspect in the investigation was an airman named Dale Pierre.
I knew that my suspect in the Jefferson homicide lived in Barracks 351. Things started to come together very quickly at that point. We compiled that with other information that we had and were able to obtain search warrants.
If Detective Moore's hunch is correct, he may have just caught a serial killer responsible for 4 murders. So he and his fellow officers head to the Hill Air Force Base. Authorities search the barracks for evidence.
Hey, I think we got something here.
And there, within their search, they find a receipt for a storage unit, along with a flyer from the hi-fi store where the murders were committed.
Detective Moore heads over to the storage unit.
When we opened up that storage shed, all of the property from the hi-fi murders was in there, as was a half-empty bottle of drain cleaner.
That equipment had all of their DNA all over it. And that was enough to arrest them.
For their part in the crime, Dale Pierre and William Andrews are found guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder. They are sentenced to death by lethal injection.
I think the greatest, most serious problem about aggrandizing violence is the desensitization that takes place. We see it so much, but we don't see the results of it. And it does put those thoughts in people's head, and then you see the copycat murders.
In an attempt to learn why the men did what they did that night, Detective Moore speaks to Dale's accomplice, William Andrews.
He looked at me and told me, "I'm not about to tell you anything that Pierre did." The next time I saw Andrews, he was strapped to a gurney, and I watched him die in an execution.
Getaway driver Keith Roberts serves time in prison. He is paroled in 1987 and is currently a free man.
I think it brought the community together a little bit better once the arrests were made, and they knew that there was no longer a threat to anybody else in Ogden City. I think they felt good about that. I think we got a lot of good public support for the police department.
There were such things as mass murders, but nothing like this before. Since then, you know, we've had a lot of these unfortunate cases in movie theaters and school playgrounds and stuff like that. But this was really horrendous in everybody's thinking.
Although Detective Moore got his man in the end, Dale Pierre is never charged in the murder of Sergeant Edward Jefferson.
I think about it now and again. It has affected me in a very bad way, in the fact that I know, had I been able to charge and convict Pierre with the Jefferson homicide, the hi-fi murders probably, well, I know they would not have occurred.
Before their deaths, Dale and William make public statements about how Dirty Harry's Magnum Force inspired them to commit the murders.
Both Pierre and Andrews admitted to the fact that they got the idea for the heist from the movie Magnum Force. Not only did this affect the victims and their family, but the community was so close that everyone in Ogden was affected. This crime changed the city of Ogden forever.
In my opinion, that film was one of the leading factors of how this crime went down. It put an idea into the heads of the suspects as to how to accomplish what they achieved to do, and that was to murder all witnesses.
This was a true copycat crime with a deadly ending. This crime was so high profile, so gruesome, that it changed this community forever. The film not only inspired them to rob, but instructed them in their minds on how to kill. But just like the movie, Dirty Harry prevails, and justice is served.